Welcome to this exciting episode of Bob the Sign Man. Let's see what the Sign Man has for us today.
How you doing there? Welcome to this exciting episode of Bob the Sign Man. So today we're going to take a little look at some temporary signs that I have to make. We have some road work coming up, and instead of taking message boards on these narrow county roads, we'll put up some temporary signage. So I got the printer going today, and I was making some signs the other day, and I had 30-inch material. I got in this morning, not thinking. That's what happens when you don't think when it's early in the morning. I usually get in about 5 o'clock in the morning. So I had these temporary signs to make for some road work coming on, road closed, paving 7 to 12, and then 1 to 3, the road will be closed May 12th and 13th. So I printed them out, but they won't fit on that because those are 36 by 48s. So here's what I came up with a little fix, and I'll show you. And there's always a fix to something. There's no reason to waste your time and resources remaking stuff again. So let me show you what I did. Okay, so here's what I have. I use this thicker corrugated plastic to make these temporary signs. It's pretty thick, it's pretty beefy. And it's only going to be up for a few days, so there's no reason to waste a big sheet of aluminum and try to cover it and all this. So I just put these up. It's only going to be up for the 14th through the 16th. So what I want to do first is clean this off. I have a clean rag, and I use this Rapid Prep pre-cleaner, and I'll show you the importance of why you should always clean your sign blanks. Mine are stored out in my outer shop, and it can get a little dusty out there. Plus this sign's been out on the road, so I imagine there's going to be a little road grime on it. Yeah, so look at all that. And it just helps your next layer stick. And what I do is I just print these up on the printer, okay, on my HP printer, and I don't put a ultraviolet protection on it, that'll stop the sign from fading. It's only going to be up for a few days, so there's no reason to waste that much more material. And what I do is I just sheet over it. You think, well, I used to do the cheaper vinyl and then take a heat gun, and that's time. Time is money, especially if anybody's working private. But even though, like in the county that I work for government, you think, oh, well, the taxpayers will pay for it. I'm always looking out for the taxpayers, and I try to keep things. I try to watch my funding and stuff. I don't want to look like I'm going over budget and spending all this obscene amount of money. So what I'm going to do, I printed these up. This was I get in the morning, I turn on the printer and I get going, and it's not the best thing to do. I wasn't focused, so I made a small mistake. I had 30-inch in there, and I'm thinking, okay, let me just print it up, and so you can see it's not going to fit. Plus now my borders are off, and I printed this too close. I forgot to look at my thing, and I printed 2 sets instead of 1 set. And there's no gap in it, so you see all these lines on here, and you think, well, God, that's going to look hideous. Not necessarily, because here's the old sign. Change conditions, 127, 2005, signalized intersection. So we tried to signalize an intersection. It was flashing red, so we turned it into a green light. Because people are like, oh, the waits are so long, So we did that. And then the community up there where we did the thing, these poor people up there, they don't know how to drive. They can't even drive a nail in without bending it, let alone trying to drive a car. So now we're going to turn it back to flashing red, and they're like, oh, you wasted all this money, you should have asked us. Well, we did ask the community, and this is what they wanted. They wanted a functioning signal instead of flashing red, because sometimes cars will back up 30 cars when they leave the hospital up there. So, you can't please everybody. And they couldn't figure out how to work the intersection when it was green lights, you're supposed to yield. You just can't fix stupid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off these black borders, and this is going to work out just fine. It might have taken me a little bit longer to do it this way, but I'm still not wasting resources. So I'm taking all these black borders off, and this will get thrown away. And there's just, when you're using your HP printer, you're just going to have a certain amount of waste. There's just no way about it. And I try to cut it down as much as I can. If I'm doing a 24 by 30 sign, I'll use you know, either 24 or 30-inch material instead of 36 and wasting all that. So I don't like to waste a lot of material. But in the long run, making your own signs definitely saves money. You know, you go to buy a stop sign, there's a little bit of black right there. And you know what the sign man's motto is? Perfect is just gonna have to be good enough for today. So I'm gonna trim that little black edge off. There's a little piece there, I don't like that. So this just goes in the trash can. Store my knife away. Oh, another little black, little shiner thing there, and I'll just take my blade and just trim that off. I know nobody's going to see it, but you know, quality goes in before the name goes on. So I've had this clean. It's had a chance to dry now, and as you can see, I've got the borders around there, and it's just that cardboard sign, corrugated. So now I can place my sign in the middle here. It covers up all the old section. And that's what I do with these. I just overlay layer after layer until it gets pretty thick. Then I just throw it away. So, you know, if I use an aluminum blank, it's going to cost a lot of money for that. Where this thing is just recycled. And I do that with some of the bigger aluminum I have. I'll just keep reusing it. So I'm going to center this, make sure I have all my other verbiage covered. And make sure it's... I got these grids on the table and I can line it up, get it pretty straight. You know, you don't want to get your sign out in the field looking like that, so I just kind of go by the borders here and it looks pretty centered there. And we're just going to go ahead. And these tables are just great. I just love this. It's a Cut-Rite 1429, I think is the model number. Let me look and see. I always forget. 1428. And it's the small, like, entry-level one. But as you can see, my shop is not big enough to get the bigger one. As it was, it's like 14,000 for this table. But I'll tell you what, when you have that HP printer and you have this table and you can roll, it's a dream. Now, if you have a longer table, you can get like 2 people working and you can share the roller. But here, not so much, unless you're making smaller signs. But anyways, so now here's my roadwork delay sign. 14th through the 16th, expect delays up to 20 minutes. Ready to go out in the field. Didn't cost, all it cost was just to print this little thing with the material. You know, you're probably talking maybe, I don't know, 10, 12 bucks, maybe at the most. Just think if you use a big blank, aluminum blank, the cost, and if you put the ultraviolet sheeting on it, which I don't need to because it's only going to be up for 2 days and it's not going to fade. Okay, now here you go. It's all finished. I still got the 36 by 48 and I have my inside little sign that I trimmed off and put in here. And a lot of times, you know, you're going to mess stuff up. There's just no doubt about it. But no way, I can't say there's no way around it, but you know, things happen like I did this morning. But I always make the best of everything. And since it's such a temporary sign, I would never do something like this if it was going to be a permanent sign. There's no way. I would have just probably just rolled that stuff up and went and buried it out with the backhoe somewhere so nobody saw it. But, you know, the corrugated cardboard comes in 4x8 sheets. So I trimmed them. I cut 4x8. I think I did, anyways, I cut a sheet in half, whatever it was. And I got 2 of these out of it. And what I do then is, like I said, reuse it. And it's, you know, a little disaster this morning actually turned out pretty good. Now that I think about it, instead of using the 36-inch material, I'll probably just keep using the 30 on this sign and then just keep overlaying the inside of it with the 30. There's no reason to have to make the whole thing again. It's less, and I won't even put the borders on it next time, so I won't have to trim them out. And now that I think about it, there's no reason to do the big sign and then have to use your, it's not like it uses a whole lot of ink, but you know, anytime you can cut corners is what I couldn't say cut corners because I try to put out the best quality product I can. I should say anytime you can save a little bit of time and money, it's a good thing, especially when you're working with governments. You know, you can't just throw it all on the taxpayers and say, heck, they'll pay for it. If I mess something up, I try to fix it the best I can. And so what happens when they have roadwork delays and they need a sign and they have to have it, who are they going to turn to? That's right, they're just going to turn to the sign man, and so should you. As always, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching this exciting episode of Bob the Sign Man. Filmed in the beautiful Napa Valley, Bob the Sign Man directs, produces and edits all of his own videos. To learn more about where Bob the Sign Man gets his materials and sign supplies, check out www.bobthesignman.com. As always, thanks for watching. See you soon.